Hi everyone, and welcome to this fourth in the series of our Pano2VR 101 webinars. This webinar is all about customization. So with that said, I'm Martin from support, and
I'm Karen, also from support, and I will be in the background here helping to answer questions and moderating the Q&A. And speaking of Q&A, if you have a question, please use the Q&A tab, and please keep the questions on topic. We'll try to answer all the questions, but we will only, in the live session, we'll only bring up the questions that are relevant. So please keep them on topic if you can. So thank you, and I'll leave it all to Martin.
Right, hi, as said. Right, okay. First thing I'm going to do then is open up Pano2VR. This is the project that's on the webpage, the webinar webpage. As you're probably aware of, or if you've not been following, over the series of the 101 series, we've been building up on a project. And today we've now got our little project with some hotspots already set, as this is all about skins. Okay, so what I want to look at is the skins available. Now Pano2VR comes with two skins. So if I just create an output, now this is another little tip. As you can see, every time so far we've been clicking the generate output button, we get this text box warning us that we're going to overwrite our output. Now that's obviously okay, but in this webinar I'm going to be doing a lot of this, and this obviously could slow things down. So what I'm going to do is say no to this. And as a little tip, we're going to head over to Pano2VR preferences. I'm on the Mac. If you're on Windows, it's file settings. Going to head on over to the advanced tab, and I'm going to deselect confirm overwrite. So now when I click OK, so now when I click the cog to generate the output, it doesn't bother asking, boom, it just does it. Okay, so the reason for doing that is to show you what the silhouette skin looks like. Okay, now we've been using this throughout all of the 101 webinars, so I think everybody is quite used to seeing the black and white silhouette skin. We also have available our Simplex skin, so Simplex V6. And if I generate the output on this, you'll see that it comes in, and we've now got some slightly different looking graphics. Okay, well, they're also slightly differently colored, with like the text boxes have got like a little bit of a drop shadow going on, and yeah, so they are slightly different. Okay, so with that said, this is all about the skins and customization. So how and where can we do this? Right, well, we have our once you've selected your skin, we have our skin or edit skin configuration button. It's the one with the tools on, and when we click this, it opens up our options. Okay, so I'm going to start at the top, and basically what we can do is, you can see here that we can start to modify button hotspot foreground. Okay, so let's do that. Do I want to do it on this one? Possibly. Okay, well, we'll do it with the Simplex skin, and what I can do is obviously use the color picker, or just select a color, one of the basic colors. So I'm just going to select red for now. Click OK, and let's generate the output, and we've now got red buttons. Okay, all right. So it gives us now. What we've also done is to help with the color, the colorization, if that's a word, of the skin. Is not only does it change the color of the buttons, but other things like the border surrounds of the pop-up images and other little, like the check boxes and things like that. Okay, so it's not just, as we go back here, so it's hotspots and button foregrounds. Now what I'm going to do is, if I want to return that back to its default color, I just click the default color there, and it sends the modified color back to default. Okay, what I'm going to do is go to the silhouette skin, because with the Simplex skin, when we looked at that, we had our button and hotspot foreground, but with the silhouette skin, because it's a round black button with a white graphic, we now have the extra option of button background, so button and hotspot background. Okay, so right, let's see some modifications then, and what can we do. So what I'm going to do is spin around the panorama. So as an example, if this church was on his website and the colors of the website matched very much what we're looking at, we can use the skin configuration button and the color picker to match, let's just put some of these back, match the colors in our tour on the website. So as an example, what I'm going to do is click on the hotspot button background. I'm going to select pick color or screen color, click and hold. I can drag my mouse out and sample a color. Okay, so that's that done. And I'm quite happy for the hotspots to have that color. So actually I'm going to open this up and I'm going to drag this into the custom colors, and the idea here is I'm going to look at the tooltip background and use that same color. There we go. So let's do that. Click OK and generate the output, and what we should have is some nice looking buttons. It's now matching the color of the roof, so again you can match quite easily one of the default skins to one of your customers' own web pages. If we hover over the hotspot, you can see the tooltip, because we obviously changed the tooltip backgrounds as well. Now we have quite a lot of control here with colors. So if we go back and have a look, you can see that we can change the foreground. Now I'm using a white image. I don't know, let's do something gory, like use a yellow one. So let's click OK and see what that looks like. And there we go. So yeah, okay, perhaps I wouldn't keep that if I was going to try and sell this as a tour. So yeah, so you can see you can change quite a lot there. Now we can do things like screen tints. So if I change the screen tint, I'm going to use the same colors we did before here. And where have I got something with a screen tint? Let me think. I've got the video pop-ups. Okay, now again I've set a video pop-up because you can see the video controls. This is a video that's using a file from the project. You can see the background border, the actual border to it has got the same colors, the play pause button, so everything is matching. So that's quite good. And if we go over to where else we've got here, we've got we're actually matching everything quite nicely. Okay, so with that said, is there any questions to start with?
Hi, no questions so
right,
far.
Right.
So yeah, I think you can keep going. Yeah, don't forget, if you have a question, just throw it into the Q&A and we'll hopefully get to it. Don't be shy.
Right, okay. So what else can we do with the skin configuration? Well, what we've got here is a load of skin parameters. Now, when we built the default skins, I'll show you this actually. When you open up the skin editor with one of the default skins, you get this, please use the skin configuration button to modify the skin. Now, the reason for this is that there is a lot of tech stuff under the bonnet with these skins, and what we've seen is people going in, modifying them, not realizing other things can cause a problem. So what next week's is going to be about is how to construct your own using components, but this week it's going to be how to use a default skin but modifying it only with this button. So what can we do then to modify it with? So we've got the show hotspot preview. Now that's selected by default, and that is when we hover over a point hotspot, we actually get the preview image of the next node. I can deselect that, click OK, generate the output, and when we hover over, we just get a text box underneath. Okay, so that's quite good. Let's go to the next one. Obviously that's show the preview, can show and hide zoom buttons. Now that's selected by default. And if we have a look at this, you'll see that when the skin opens, we've got these two zoom buttons. So you could say to yourself, well, you know, in this day and age, you know, people have got mouse zoom wheels that they can use. If it's on a mobile display, they can pinch zoom. And yeah, there's no reason now to have buttons taking up real estate on the screen. So if that's your preference, you can just deselect that. Next time you build the output, you'll notice that those buttons are missing. Now, this is where I was saying about the actual default skin. You'll notice not only are those two buttons gone, but the background to that has now got smaller and the buttons are now in line. They've centralized themselves as well within the bottom of the skin. So when you make all these decisions and adding and removing things, the skin is obviously adapting to that and making sure that you get exactly what you've selected. Okay, so let's go back to the skin configuration button then. And one of the other things that's deselected by default is the show information button. Now I'm going to select this and show you what this is. So let's just build the output and you will see an I button here. And what this does is brings up the user data of the image. So if I click this, we get this user data panel pop up. Now it's looking a bit gory, to be honest. I'm going to put these colors back, if I may, because yeah, all of it being the same color was a little bit too much. But anyway, so we've got this user data information panel. Now, where do you configure all this information? Well, if you're going to use that, what you do is the user data panel uses the user data tab. So here we could put author. So Christoph, he's the guy that shot the Christoph, one of our programmers. He's one of the guys that, or the guy that shot these panoramas. So that's the description and copyright. So let's put GG, so Garden Gnome. And if we build the output and now use the I button, you'll see that that is now filled out. Now the thing is that obviously you can set this user data per panorama. So it could be that, you know, someone took the first two panos, somebody else took the third, and someone else took the fourth. So you could change all this data, or what you can do is obviously the title of the panorama will change in every node, but where you've got the descriptions and author, you can use the copy key. So the description has been copied for all nodes. We can do that for the others, and that's done. So if I just create the output, so here again, if I click on the information button, we've got the courtyard. If I go to the next node, click the information button, we've now got the entrance, but we've got all the data still the same because we copied it over. Okay, so that's our information button. The other thing I wanted to show, and I do apologise because I've not set up, I've been completely brain dead about this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, because I do want to show this, I'm going to open up QuickTime and I'm going to plug my phone into it. So this is how, if you're on a Mac, this is how to do it. This is quite cool actually. So I'm not actually overly sorry that I'm actually showing you this, because it's quite a cool thing to do. So now what I've done is I've plugged my iPhone into the Mac via its USB lead. Going to click File, New Movie Recording. You're going to get this pop up, and I'm going to select, all things being equal, my iPhone. Boom, and here it is. So this is what my iPhone looks like. Okay, so what we want to show is the gyroscope. So I'm going to select the my Safari, and in Pano2VR what we're going to do is go Tools and Integrated Web Server. Okay, and I'm just going to add an output to the web server. So I'm just going to click the button here to add an output. So as soon as I click this and we've generated an output, we will see this translate, come off there, translate into the web server. So this is telling me that this web server has now got all of these files. So now what I need to do is just call this back again, is so you can see it, let's move that off, is type in the URL into the address bar. Now this is quite interesting because we have to use a secure connection. So the one I need to use is the HTTPS. Now this has been covered in a past webinar, but again, I think I'll just show it here as well because I think it's worth doing. Is if we go to Pano2VR preferences, it's file settings on the PC. If you look at the web server, make sure that you deselect local host, because if that's selected, you'll only be able to view the output on the computer. With this deselected, you can then any device connected to the same network, you can do this, you can test the output on various devices. I want to use a secure connection, so use the HTTPS server. So I've got that enabled. I personally have allocated 2 ports, so I've got fixed port numbers. I think Pano2VR comes set to auto on both of these, but I'm using 800 and 8001. And basically then all I need to do is, let's go back to the web server. Let's go so you can see my phone again. Let's do that. Let's make that a little bit smaller. There we go. So there's my phone. So what I need to do now to make this work is just type in the address, which will be HTTPS. So when I click go, there we go. So this is now my iPhone on our network seeing the output. So I'm going to select the output folder and I'm going to select the HTML page. So this is now the tour being served to my phone. So this is me touching the phone and testing the tour. Okay, so the whole reason for doing this is going back to the skin configuration and selecting, or rather looking at the gyroscope. Now it's already selected, but what I wanted to show you is that when we click on the output, we don't get the gyroscope button. Okay, the gyroscope button only becomes available on a device that can use the gyro. So let's just go back again to the iPhone, and you will see here that the gyro is now available. It's this one just underneath the start recording button. There you go. So you can see the gyro, and next to it is the WebXR button. Okay, so that takes you into VR mode. So if I if I press the gyroscope button, you'll see that it's going to ask me, do I wish to allow the motion sensor to work from this website? So I'm going to click allow, and that allows me to move my phone around, and when I click the button again, it stops. All right, now if I don't want to see that, I would click here on the skin configuration button under gyroscope. I can deselect that, click OK, create the output. Let's go back and see this, and you will see if I just refresh the page, the gyro button is now gone. All right, now you may or may not have spotted, but there was no WebVR or WebXR button available, all right, in the skin configuration. So why was that, and how do I turn that off if I don't want mobiles to see it? Right, well basically the gyroscope and the VR button only show when the devices that are displaying the output can actually use that feature. So in this case, in Pano2VR, this feature is turned on. So when we output and we view this on a mobile device, we see these icons. Here under the HTML5 output, we've got our VR tab. If I select that, it says we've got VR enabled. If I deselect that and just create an output, so let's go back to my phone, and what I'm going to do here is just refresh that, and boom, no more web VR button. That's all gone. So that's 2 things there. One, the device itself has to be able to use that facility, so it's got to have a motion sensor inside the device, i.e. a phone. And also, before these will work, it was going to ask me, am I going to allow this website to use the motion sensor of my phone? If I disallowed that, on an iPhone, if you disallow it, it doesn't use it, and it will never ask you again. So the only way to do that is to go back into your iPhone's properties, into Safari, and clear out the cache or the website data, and then it will ask you again. So that's quite an important thing to know. But yeah, you can see there that on the phone that actually does work quite well. Right, so let's move that out the way, close this off and put everything back before I forget. So let's turn that back, and I'm going to turn back on the gyroscope button. Okay, so what's the other things can we look at here? Right, well, we've got show loading bar. Now the loading bar is quite a good thing, but people say, well, I don't see it, I only saw it for a split second. Why? Well, with Pano2VR by default we use multi-resolution, so what you're actually seeing is all your skin elements, your skin images and everything that's in the skin, or if you had a background sound, that's what your loading bar is showing initially, is all of those. If I can bring your attention to the top right hand corner, when I move the panorama around, you'll see some flashing going on. All right, and you'll see some loading going on there. And what that is, now this is slightly different. This is, if we have a look at the skin configuration, this is show multi-resolution loading. Now, so that's the difference between show a loading bar and show multi-resolution loading. Multi-resolution is when Pano2VR first opens, it loads a resolution fit for the device or the screen that you're viewing. All right. But as you zoom in and you pass so many pixels per screen, it will then call for a higher resolution tiles. As and when it does that, this is when you see that flashing of those three animated icons up here. So that's what that is, and the loading bar, shows things like, as I say, skin images and everything initially. So yeah, that's the difference between the two. Okay, so looking down the list, we're blasting through this, which is great. I'm going to sort of go to the bottom of the list. We've got another couple of things here that are quite cool. We've got the open URL in iFrame. Now that is deselected by default. All right, so if I click OK, and let's again publish the tour out or create the output, when I go over to the next node, you will see that I've got our URL hotspot to open up a web page. So if I click that, it opens up a new tab or a new window depending how your browser is set up. Okay, now if I go in and select this, so open URL hotspot in iFrame, if I select this and click OK, create the output, and let's revisit that node, click this, you will now see that the website is now inside of the panorama. It's not opened up a new page, it's within the panorama. Now the thing with this is this is good and this is great and it works really well for desktops, but we've actually found that with iOS and certain phones, iframes don't scroll. All right, so this would not look that good on, say, an iPhone. All right, so just to bring this back in again and show you this, what I'm going to do is refresh this on the iPhone and you'll see the experience on the iPhone, which is going to be, so let's go to that node, going to click the URL hotspot, and what that does is it opens up a new window. To get back to your tour, you just close that tab. All right, now we do this automatically so you don't have to worry about it. That's the whole point of having default skins, is that they do all the work for you. But I just thought it was, important that you saw the experience that a mobile user would have with that particular hotspot. Okay, so that's that. And the very last thing then, so let's go to the skin configuration, is our auto hide controller. Now by default it's switched off, but if you select it, click OK, I'll just create the output. And if you keep an eye on what's going on at the bottom here, what actually happens is after 5 seconds it will hide. There we go. And then when I select it, it's available. It's available to and it will still stay visible while the mouse cursor is in this area, but as soon as the mouse leaves, it starts the timer again for 5 seconds and it will auto hide. Okay, now this is also true of the thumbnail menu. So with the thumbnail menu selected, you've got all of this going on, and as soon as I mouse away from this, it will auto hide. Here we go. Right, now that actually, I said this was the last thing. I lied, sorry. One thing I didn't show you, which I should have done, was on the thumbnail menu button. So obviously we've got lots of buttons, so I can, you know, hide and show the preview. So let's put that back on. I can hide and show the zoom buttons. We can, you know, hide and show the auto rotate information. There's a lot of things there. Now with the thumbnail, so I can hide and show the thumbnail button, but we get a couple more options with the thumbnail, and that's show the thumbnail menu on open. So with that selected, I'll just publish this out or create the output. You can see that the thumbnail menu is open, and then the viewer has to close it. Okay, so that's that. But the other option to the thumbnail is to hide and show the tooltips. Not all projects have tooltips, so if you don't have tooltips, why bother showing them? So here you can see I can hover over and it's not displaying the names. Anyway, that is basically the configuration button. You can see that there isn't masses there, but that's the whole point. It's to give you enough customization, but not enough to absolutely bewilder you. You can, as I say, you've got the scroll bar, backgrounds, foregrounds, thumbnail borders. On the thumbnail menu, we could have changed on an active border. So on your active thumbnail, what color would it be? There's lots you can play with. It doesn't matter if you get yourself lost. As I say, you've got the defaults here. You can just click away and send everything back to default. So with that said, I'm going to ask Karen, do we have any questions?
Yeah, now we have questions.
Cool.
Let's see here. So Rob S. was asking if you can have different button configurations for devices. So can you have them for desktop or for mobile?
Not with the default skin. Basically, this is a global adjustments. Next week, when we look at building your own skin, we will be able to look at things like this. But at the moment, with this webinar, it's all about the customization of the built-in skins. As I say, we've got the Silhouette and Simplex, and these settings are global for all devices.
Mm-hmm. And Dan was asking which model, he literally says, which model of remote is compatible with iPhone and Safari, so to use it with VR view. But I think Dan is asking what phones are compatible for viewing in cardboard view.
Right.
And well, the answer I think is just any phone that has a gyroscope.
That's that. I was going to say that's
Right? Yeah.
that's the key thing. Obviously, there are cheaper phones out there that don't have, you know, motion sensors or anything like that. So it's just never going to work. I've had this conversation with a corporate company that decided to buy, you know, hundreds of phones for all of their operatives, and they went out and the guy in accounts went and bought the cheapest phone he could get hold of that met the minimum specification. Sadly, it didn't work. The phone needs to have the hardware, i.e. accelerometers and compasses and gyroscopes and all of that sort of stuff before this can work. So, yeah.
Right. So Simon is asking, we get this question a lot, so let's answer it here. Is there any way to have a button to take a screenshot of the current view so you can share it by email or any way else?
We don't. I'm going to put my head on the block here and say we don't. You can do this. I've had this conversation with Thomas, and he has actually shared some code with me, and that allowed us to do this. But it was browser specific, which it either going to work or it doesn't work. So at that point, we decided not to follow it forward. However, I do know that the powers that be, i.e. Thomas and Christoph, working in the engine room back at Gnome HQ, will be having something maybe soon, and that's where I'm going to leave that one.
Yeah,
but
we get a lot of requests for it.
We do, but in the forum, we have a skins and component forum. We have a forum that doesn't give you a snapshot, so you've got a picture, but what it does is it copies. It's a copy button. And what that does is if you move the panorama, or say for argument's sake, your customer is looking at your panorama and wants to show you something, what they can do is move the panorama and zoom into an area, press the copy button, and that will take and that actually will copy the URL of that panorama, of that node, of that view, of that zoom into into their clipboard. And all they need to do is paste that into an email back to you. You click that link and you will see exactly the same view they were looking at the point that they clicked the copy button. So it isn't, a picture, but it will give you exactly the same view as what your customer is looking at. So, that's what we've got. It's in our component forum at the moment. That's what we've got here and now. And for the snapshot feature, maybe. Later.
Right. Okay. So we're getting a lot of suggestions and some off-topic questions, but there's one topic, another question that we get from. I just want to address it because we get a lot of these questions. Is are we going to offer commercial plugin store like Pano2VR Pro? We have components and they're free. And we offer a lot of them. And that's what Martin was just covering. I
will go to the website and I will show you.
Yeah.
So let's do that. So let's go to our Garden Gnome website.
And anybody can make these. You don't have to be a programmer. You just have to know the skin.
Absolutely. So the only reason why I've gone to the website first, because it's got the forum button. It's actually, the skin components is actually in the forum. So if you go to skins, so click here and you'll see components. So this is our components forum. What I've tried to do is keep a components index and try to keep it up to date, so you can see all the components available which you can download and add to Pano2VR. I've kept them in, tried to keep them into like specific. So this one, for argument's sake, will work in version 5, 6 and whatever. These are common components. This will work in this will work in version 5, this will work in version 6. So I've tried to keep them separated, but you can see that we've got quite a few little components there. That's where we stuck the Google Analytics that I did a webinar on we did a webinar on the other day. So
yeah, and these are just what Martin provided. Everyone else who's using Pano2VR can also provide them. And then if you want, you can make a shop for your own. You can sell it yourself. We don't stop you from doing that. So get the word out there. If you want somebody to make you a grid or whatever you want, ask somebody to make it for you, and you can pay them, or they can put them on the forum, whatever you want to do.
Absolutely. And if we go to the board index, what we've got here is we've got commercial offerings, and we are really happy that if you decide that you want to start selling your own skins or components, we are really happy for you to post this in here, because the more the merrier. The more support we've got for Pano2VR, the better. The more things that like more technical minded people can build, like skins and whatnot, and we've got one here, look. It's great. It just adds power to the software. It adds power to you guys as well, because people can just build things and make them look good. But as I say, with next week's one, it's looking at how to use components. So if you're interested in that, tune in next week. But tune in next week anyway. But anyway.
Yeah, I think Jim was just asking, can you have a webinar for that? And he was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I think we're going a little bit too far. And, of course, it's bringing up more questions that have nothing to do with customizing our...
Tut, people. On topic. On topic.
Keep it on topic. But we will answer your questions in the background. We just won't bring them into the webinar. So I think that's it for now, except BF. They were asking if you could go over the phone thing again. I'm not quite sure what is meant by that.
Okay. What? Adding my phone so we can see the output on the iPhone.
Oh yeah, maybe with for the using the web server. Maybe that was it. Would you mind going over that? Do we have time for that, or?
I think we can. It's not a long process. It's just something. Yeah, I'm going to disconnect everything. Yeah, I will say when we disconnect things like this and do this, it's a bit flaky. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that's not our fault. It's down to QuickTime. Right. So. Let's close everything down. Where's QuickTime? Come on, up you come. Right, so that's closed. So if you have, so let's go back to properties, Pano2VR. Right, just in case, let's just go back to the so Pano2VR preferences on the Mac, so file settings on the PC, web server. I'll leave that open there for a second. So on the video, when you're watching the video, you can freeze frame and we'll see this. But basically, to make this work, where you can test the output on any piece of equipment that's connected to the same network. All right. So disconnect local host so it does broadcast it on the network. I've set some ports up and HTTPS server I've enabled. You will need this to see the gyroscope working. If you want to see the gyroscope or WebVR or WebXR, whatever we're calling it these days, if you want to see this on your device, you do need this and use this particular address. So connecting this to my so showing this on the phone. So I'm going to just reconnect. Where is it? QuickTime. There we go. So I'm just reconnecting QuickTime. My phone's just buzzed in my hand because I've got it set to silent.
I'm just going to jump in really quickly. I just want people to know that Martin's only connecting the phone to the computer, so you guys can see the phone. You don't have to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on. Sorry.
And to BF. I'm sorry, I don't know your full name. But yeah, this works for any phone, any device, your iPad, your Chromebook, I don't know, whatever you've got that's external from your computer and you want to test it. You do the same thing. It's not just for the phone. So sorry, okay. I'll let you.
No, it's all right. As I said, it's quite a flaky thing, and it's exactly what's happening. It's being flaky. So let's just quit this and go into this. Let me go to File. New recording. I really shouldn't have disconnected this, to be honest, but let me see if this will work. And it's not having it. Okay. All right. I can't show it. All right. Not to worry. Right. Okay. So let's blag this then. Right. So.
But just to interrupt again, there's a web page, there's a documentation on how to do this. So for you guys who were having a hard time following or weren't quite sure what was going on, there is documentation on this, so you can always follow that.
So right, and as an important thing there, as I said before, when we go back to preferences or file settings and looking at this is how we were setting it up. So to use this then, what we're going to do is go to Tools, built in web server. I'm understanding I haven't got my teeth in. And the one that you want is the SSL. Now, the thing to remember, this is local network, all right? You can't copy this, put it in an email and send it to someone and say, look at this, you'll see my output. It's only going to work on devices connected to your local network. Okay. The other thing is as well, which is important, is if you try to connect to this now, it wouldn't work. All right. What you need to do is build an output, or at the very least click to view the output so you actually see something. And inside the where is it gone? It's hiding. So you've got content. This now says that this web server has content that you can view. Now we've got two addresses here. We have the non-secure connection and then we have the secure connection. It's the secure connection you want if you're going to test gyroscopes and VR. Okay, so that's all you do now would be open up your mobile phone's browser and type in this address. So HTTPS. I mean, if I click it now, you'll get something like show details and visit website. Okay, so I won't do any of that, to be fair, because I don't want to give passwords on. But anyway, basically you'll click on this and you'll be able to view the output on your device. But this is all you type in. So the HTTPS:// the IP address and the port number, and that will then display the output. Now the other thing we've got here is a speed limit, which is quite cool. Is if, for argument's sake, you know that you're going to be in an environment that's using, I don't know, 64 kilobits a second, you can type in 64K and see how your Panorama performs on such low internet connection speeds. So yeah, it's just another little trick. But anyway, that's basically how to do that. Very disappointed I couldn't reconnect the phone to show you, but never mind. That's live webinars, folks. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's I think we've gotten all the questions.
Right.
Just double checking. Yeah, that's it. I hope that covered everything. So carry on.
Okie dokie. Right. Well, just one last note then to say, look forward to, well, thank you very much initially for everybody for joining us today. It's always a bit of a buzz that, people appreciate what we do, and we obviously appreciate you guys. And so thanks for joining us today. And, just a reminder for next week, it's skins. So it's using the component toolbox to build skins. So yeah, that's what we're doing next week. So from me, I'm going to say thank you very much and see you next week.
And also thanks again. And I just wanted to add on to that next week's using components. That's exactly what we were talking about before. So if anyone missed that, the components are like these plugins, right? So be sure to join us then. And yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for joining us. This was fun.
All right. Cheers then. Bye.
Bye.